Today I'm going to talk about how to tell the difference between your own emotions, your emotional reactions, and energy that you might be picking up from your environment. And I think that this is an important conversation to have because the truth is that we are energy. The whole universe is energy. We are in an energetic universe, and it is absolutely not true that the only thing that you can perceive is your own state of being. It might be true that the story that you assign to reality can only be from your limited understanding or something that has happened in your own life or something that you're projecting, but you are picking up stuff from everywhere, right? Whether it's the cosmos, whether it's a shift on the planet, whether it's stuff in the collective, whether it's, the person's body that's in the same room as you has an injury that you might be picking up on. So I'm going to explain what I've learned about energy. I'll explain a little bit about the non-physical, which is kind of a little bit different than energy itself. And I'll give you a little background about me. So I have a video called something about my experience with Kundalini Awakening, where I go into some of my the phenomena that I've experienced. But ever since I was a child, I've been very aware of energy, just very aware. I'm very ethereal. I'm very, like, the element that I have the least of is earth. Like, I have the more volatile energies in alchemy, right? The air, the ether, the fire. And I, even up until recently, up until the last like 10 years, even before I had like consciously a spiritual awakening, I've always been aware of my mind. I've always been I feel like I came into this world not identified with my mind because I've been observing my mind my whole life. And also, I think my mind is very often in theta and alpha because for a while I would be driving or I would be having certain experiences being in a classroom, and my dream world, like, I would go into a non-physical dream world that was more real and vivid than my physical reality. And so for me, the astral world, I became very familiar with the astral world, with its inhabitants, with how it works, like how we attract beings from the astral world, like things that we channel. So I'm very familiar with the energetic universe, and I'm going to share with you what I've learned and how it applies to our human life. And so, okay, the most practical part of this conversation is, how do you tell the difference? Well, I'll say first also, we are all becoming more non-physically aware. We're all awakening, and we're going, like, the earth is increasing in energy. And so, like, maybe a lot of people will have big openings and spiritual awakenings. I personally, like, I don't perceive reality as being physically solid. I see it as like this moving light matrix, and there's lots of bleed throughs, and there's lots of beings, and there's lots of stuff going on in the universe, and we're feeling a lot of stuff. And so maybe that will be part of your awakening. Maybe it already is. And I want to just be a guide for you because I can move you through it with sanity, stability, calmness, and no fear. Because I do walk between worlds, and I've learned how to do so without fear. So, okay. It's important that we learn how to navigate the universe, how to navigate, like, energy, how to navigate discernment. I talk a lot about discernment, but it's hard to discern unless we can kind of tell what it is that we're feeling. So, okay. Your reactions feel like you're being knocked out of homeostasis. So we tend to feel a trigger in the solar plexus, could feel it in the heart, could feel it in the throat, could feel it in a cascade, like a whole chain of stuff going on. But it's closer to the chakra system, because the chakra system is where our psyche is. And so when we get triggered, like particularly from the solar plexus, which is our personal power center, and where it's our adult personal mind, like when we get triggered, often we feel like this ticking feeling there, like tick, 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 tick. And that's the very first stage. It's like this ticking. And then it might turn into this feeling of like, whoa, I'm really not safe. Like, I'm totally powerless. I'm totally helpless. And at that point, you might feel a flood of chemicals coming into your stomach area. You might feel really unsafe. You might start getting snappy with people, or you might like lower your energy and shut down into depression. And so like that's you. So how do you know it's you? Because you feel like a separate self that is threatened. You feel threatened. And really, if you're an empath, you might be threatened by every energy, maybe energy that isn't your own psychological energy, and until you learn how to stop feeling, how to stop fearing energy, and how to stop fearing your own emotions. And so first I want to say, do not fear your emotions. If you listen to yourself, listen to your doctor. I'm not a doctor, a psychiatrist, but I have walked through a very intense reintegration process, coming back into my body, moving through a lot of energy and becoming and being very aware of it. And so I'm just reporting my experience, take it or leave it. But I want to reduce the fear factor and say like, emotions aren't scary. They're just not. They're just it's just energy. It's just life energy that's been distorted into an understanding of separation. You know, if you were rejected as a child and you felt like a really strong sense of rejection, like if you let yourself feel that, you might feel physiological symptoms. You might feel your lungs collapsing. You might feel your throat closing. You might feel a heart palpitation. You might start sweating. Your vision might get blurry. Yeah, all that might happen because we physiologically react to our perceptions. But it's okay. Feel safe enough to be the container in which all these emotions are allowed to rise and be felt, because only then can you have access to the part of yourself that feels separate. Unless you stop avoiding your emotions, you will never be able to see very clearly and dissolve the part of you that believes that it's separate, that's stuck in an understanding of fear. So first, don't be afraid of your emotions. It's just energy. And like I said, it could be very physiological. It can even make you dizzy. It could even make you nauseous. Doesn't matter. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Have conviction. Stay focused. Stay focused and softly allow your body to open up and to feel your emotions. One of the videos I have, I literally demonstrate myself doing it. I think it's called like the most important thing I've ever learned. I think on YouTube it was the first video I put on the internet. Like I'm wearing a green puffy coat. That's all I remember. So first of all, energy is not scary. Unless you understand this, okay, every energy is gonna freak you out. It's like, especially if you grew up in a chaotic environment. If you grew up in a chaotic environment and you are so familiar with adrenaline and chaos and being knocked out of homeostasis, like every time you feel anything intense, you're gonna have a reaction to it. You're going to let it unseat you. So it's yours when you feel yourself tensing against or avoiding or reacting to an energy. So you can walk into a space where there's some chaos going on, right, as an adult. Maybe two people are fighting. Maybe you feel the energy of the situation. Maybe it feels like turmoil or like some burning sensation in your chest. Okay, well, if you just feel the energy, which is there, right? It's there. Just feel it. Just feel it, and in your like resolute like determination or just decision to like stay calm. Okay, so you feel it and realize that you have a choice to discharge the sensation. You have a choice. So many empaths feel bombarded by energy, bombarded by their environment, because they believe that they are completely at the mercy of their environment. Because maybe they were exposed to so much chaos that they accepted it as just, it doesn't occur to them that they have the option to create something else. Because as a child, you didn't have the option, right? So first of all, realize that as soon as you feel something, right? I'm a medical intuitive. I used to get into people's spaces, into their energy fields, and if they had a torn ACL, my knee would start burning. If they drank too much coffee, I would feel my heart beating faster. If they were in a state of panic, I would feel like my guts were in a blender. And I felt all those things, but I learned that if something comes into my space and all of a sudden a strong sensation appears, I immediately ask like, well, I don't do this anymore. This is how I started. Is this mine? And if the answer is no, it will just disappear. Like, it will just disappear. Like, because if you don't identify with it, there's nothing to stick it to you. There's nothing to attach you to it. So just, if you start feeling something, like if you, even when you tune into someone mentally, we are not the body. We are the whole universe. We are consciousness. We are not only this local body. So we have the ability to tune into, it's like every being in the universe is a program in the mind of God. And when you disidentify from being this program, you have access to all the programs. And don't abuse that power, and don't spy on people, and don't be, and check yourself. Like, newsflash, we've all abused our power. We have. Especially if we're like spiritual initiates, it's almost like, it's like a lesson that we learn, like, yes, we do abuse our power, but stop. Like, stop doing it. The discernment is a tool that's useful for you in your own personal life when you have to make decisions, when you have to make, decide to make an investment or marry someone or move in with someone, or, it gives you the ability to easily disengage with things that aren't healthy for you, and that's it. Okay. And it is valuable sometimes to demonstrate psychic power and all that stuff, because it actually deconditions people's minds to believing that they are only local to their body and their local mind. There is some value to demonstrating it, because it helps people accept that there's something beyond their personal mind and their personal body. But anyway, the way that so the problem is that if you're interacting with someone who is a close relation, okay, family member, intimate partner, friend, boss, let's say they call you on the phone and all of a sudden your throat gets tighter. Okay, so you might be experiencing their state of being. Maybe they're in a state of stress and maybe they can't express themselves right now. Maybe they feel choked. Maybe they feel like they're drowning in their work, whatever. So if that person has triggered you your whole life, like a parent or a sibling or whatever, the energy that you feel from them and the reaction that you have to the energy might be so it might feel simultaneous, so you won't be able to discern what's what. But the important thing is that once you are knocked out of homeostasis, and once you begin to feel threatened, and then once you begin to control and manipulate your environment, the separate self feels threatened and it starts to manipulate and control. What can that look like? Well, that can look like seduction. It can look like, turning up like the nice guy or the nice girl like persona. It can look like the hero needing to fix everything. It can look like a lot of things. It can look like any kind of censorship that you are using as a strategy to control your environment. So if somebody does something and you start censoring yourself and shifting yourself, and it feels stressful. Like, that's why you have to get into your body and you have to feel the way that your body starts releasing chemicals when you're in a situation, because that gives you a clue that you are believing that you're powerless, that you're separate, right? So it's a big deal to stop being afraid of your emotions. Let's reduce the fear factor. There's this idea that healing takes time and that we have to slowly take baby steps and all that stuff, and I respect that. And on any given day and in any given moment, the medicine that we need and what we need for ourselves is always shifting. But I want to remind you, right? I want to energize this thought form in the universe. Healing does not take time. It just takes awareness. In fact, I don't believe in healing. I believe in self-realization. So if somebody can have a mystical experience and their disease instantaneously disappears, then that means if you can have a self-realization in a moment, like that version of you that had all the karma and all the issues and even the diseases and attracted certain abuse in your life, like that, if you realize that what created all that is a belief that something outside of you is your source, or that you are not the creator, or that you are at the mercy of your environment and you have no ability to even have your own energy field. This is, seeing that very clearly self-realization brings you into, like, tunes you into the embodiment of your divinity. So the only way that you can have that powerful self-realization is if you stop fearing your emotions, and if you stop feeling energy, if you stop fearing energy. And, like, be aware, I notice that at funerals, there's lots of like beings swirling around, maybe relatives, maybe the person who passed or whatever. Yeah, like that's out there too, right? And so usually the way you know that something isn't yours is it just feels like a sensation. Like it might feel like a whirling. You might feel like if you're around somebody who's really drunk and you're really aware of energy, you might literally feel like woo, 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 like a dizzy feeling. You might feel a nauseous feeling. If somebody's on drugs or something, you might feel like you're on speed. Like you might feel that. But as soon as you wake up and you realize like you're not at the mercy of your environment, and you can disengage from that, like in that moment, and you can do that by asking, is this mine? And it disappears. That is not yours. That's not yours. So that's the basic way, right? If you get knocked out of homeostasis, you feel like you're threatened. A big one is if you feel abandoned, you're afraid of aloneness, and somebody doesn't answer your text or your call or whatever, and you start getting really concerned and hypervigilant, watching your phone even more, like your body's turning up its stress factor. And so that's your reaction. That's your projection. So just when you're trying to figure out, like, am I reading energy or is this my reaction? Well, it might be both. It might be that you are actually sensing something, like, when somebody's lying to you. When like a part of, like, I knew a person who would engage with me from like a kind of twisted part of themselves, and I saw it, and I was like, if I were to project onto them, if it was my own stuff, it would be like, okay, well, she doesn't like me, or she doesn't love me, or she's bad. And it's like, no, I can just feel the quality of the energy like interacting with me, because, okay, this is another important thing. If your whole life, especially if you were a child who grew up in a lot of adrenaline and a lot of chaos and adrenaline might be so familiar to you that you actually confuse excitement and inspiration with adrenaline. Like, you seek adrenaline. So the most important factor in the ability to be able to discern this energetic universe is creating peace, homeostasis, quiet, bringing your body into homeostasis, bringing yourself into rest, into a state of rest, tuning into your heart chakra that always is at rest. If you are not familiar with being at rest, you will not be able to tell what you are interacting with. If you're looking at the bottom of a pond and you're trying to see the image at the bottom of the pond, you can't see what's at the bottom if there's all this movement distorting your ability to see. And the movement is what causes the movement in us, our perceptions of ourselves, our emotions, right? So unless you go into yourself and you find the parts of you that don't know that they are whole and that they are the intelligence of the whole universe, you're going to have too much movement to ever be able to tell whether you're just kind of making stuff up or if you're actually discerning the quality of energy. Now, you can tell when something that you're interacting with is coming from fear or love, but then your story about it, right? Oh, well, that person like resents me, and okay, that might not be true, right? All you need to know is the quality of what you're interacting with so that you can make an intelligent decision to just disengage with it, because there's no point in engaging with it. That's the practical value of discernment. And if you are a person that is wanting to channel, The most important thing that you have to understand is that there's a lot of trickster energy in the astral world. And if you are not pure of heart and it's not your pure desire to just bring in something of tremendous value that would help set people free, like if that's not your true desire, like I could be anonymous for the rest of my life. I could be a nobody for the rest of my life. But if I have the intention and the desire to bring through something that could be helpful to people, like that's the vibration that will bring in information that you can trust. It will feel like love. But if you're obsessed with power, okay, if you want to be special, if you have something to prove, if if part of you is seeking power over others or being superior to others, you will attract beings that will maybe disguise themselves as benevolence, and you will attach yourself to beings that also want that, and that's not good. So as far as like the astral world goes, so I'll begin this conversation by saying not every discarnate being is a non-physical being, and not every thought is a non-physical thought. Non-physical to me means anything above, anything peace, love, and above. Anything below peace and love, any thought that has any quality of fear or separation is a physical thought. And you know that because when you have an out-of-body experience and as soon as you feel fear, you drop back into your body, it's because fear is associated with the physical world. And so same thing for discarnate beings. There are discarnate beings that I would call them physical discarnate beings, and they feed on the energy of addiction. And so if you or any part of you is vibrating in the range of shame, rage, blame, apathy, anything on guilt, if part of you is vibrating there, you're going to attract beings that feed on you because they feed on the emotional energy. And don't worry, don't be afraid. I'll tell you a story at the end of this. Don't be afraid of anything. Just realize, have conviction and be like, get off of me. I'm free. I am creator. And as soon as you love yourself in any moment, whether you're in a habit of addiction, whether you're in having a dark night of the soul, if you feel love and you decide like I'm safe no matter what, nothing can hurt you. Nothing can hurt you. But yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff. We're feeling all kinds of stuff in our universe. There are ETs. I talk to lots of them. I have the strongest connection in this lifetime, at least, with the Pleiadians, and they come into my room and they show me about healing modalities. And I see light beings all day. I see fireworks of light beings exploding in front of my face. There's our relatives. There's the essence of our relative. There's the essence of the deceased, and there's the thought form versions. Like there's different aspects of us. There's lots of different aspects of us. There's our higher self, which, by the way, I think is the greatest thing we could ever channel, because that's like it's like the ultimate like aspect of our individuality. Yeah, but it's interesting, I'm going to teach about energy intelligence because there's a lot out there. And if you are feeling all kinds of sensations, most people think that everything that comes through their mind or comes into their sensation is like their own personality. That's not true. That's not true. There's stuff coming in and out. And what's the most important is how are you vibrating? And what are you attracting into your field? Like I said, addiction does attract certain beings that amplify your sense of worthlessness, that feed on you. I walk between worlds. I see a lot of stuff. I see many dimensions of reality. And I'm telling you, I'm going to share more and more about this because I want to lessen the fear factor. Like I said, we're becoming more energetically aware, and we have to understand like what we're feeling, what's going on, in order to navigate reality with sanity and stability. I had a experience once, actually twice. I'll tell you two stories. This is about like empowerment and about realizing that you're in charge of your energy. I want to teach you that you are in charge of you, that you have nothing to be afraid of, and how like that's part of your self-realization. Like there's nothing that can diminish you. There's nothing to be afraid of. So I was at this place doing some healing work. Oh, before I say this, I want to say as well, we all have spirit doctors. We all have guides. Like we all have different presences. When I used to do healing work with people, and depending on what issues the person had, different presences, different beings would come in. Like if the person had a heart problem, like a heart doctor would come in. One of my spirit doctors is like, looks like the diva from The Fifth Element. Like I call her Oana. One of my spirit doctors is like this Shrek looking dude, and I call him Schlem just because that word makes me laugh. And he looks like Shrek, and I ask him his name. It's like it's something I can't even say with an English language. But anyway, so like that guy gives me like this strength and this like, because I might be dealing with someone that's hard to deal, like maybe someone who's a fighter who's resisting me. So like I will channel his strength, and I will like pull a lower thought out of the person's chakra. Like we have all these beings, like we're channeling the qualities of all these intelligences all the time. But anyway, I was at a retreat, and I had a beautiful day. I had a beautiful spiritual experience, and there had been a discarnate physical creature kind of fucking with me. 3 nights in a row, my door got open and the lights got turned on, and I knew that I had turned the lights off in my room, and it kept turning on. On the 3rd night, it ripped the covers off of me. It ripped the covers off of me, and it attached itself to my causal chakra. And I saw this red, stressful energy, and my first reaction, like my body was terrified, but my first reaction was to send it love. I wasn't in my body enough. I was like in between the physical and the astral. I was in like the in between. I wasn't connected to my body enough to like feel a lot of love. And that didn't work. It didn't go away. So what I did was I felt this like strength and conviction like arise within me, and I said the names of God in Hebrew. Well, I said Yod He Vod He, and it went pew. And what I learned was like, oh my God, it's my conviction, like my ability to stand up and be fearless. That is my self-realization. Like nothing, no matter what it looks like, no matter if it's attacking you, it has no power over you in the moment that you are self-realized as something that cannot be diminished or harmed. I'll tell you one more story. A person told me that they were going to physically attack me. I was on the 33rd floor of a building, and I had no way out. And they said, I'm going to attack you now. And they started coming towards me, and they got on top of me, and they were bigger than me. And in that moment, I felt my heart, and I radiated this crazy like starlight energy, and I like reinforced my aura, and that person passed out. Fell off of me and passed out. And I was like, holy shit, like that was powerful. But more importantly, I want to teach you don't even get yourself in that situation in the first place. Understand the parts of you that attract those dangerous situations, which I talk a lot about. But the point is that you're an energetic being. You feel all kinds of stuff. You are not in danger. Please feel safe to feel your emotional energies. I will unpack all of this more. I will go more into the energetic universe, how to tell what's what and what you're feeling. I want to be like one of the guides to help us into this new age of realizing ourselves as multidimensional beings. So I hope something I said today helped make something make sense to you. And I will talk to you on another day. Have a good day.